order the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. Today is October 21st. It is now 7 p.m. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Chairman Sean Poole.
Here.
Please let the record show that the Vice Chairman Gene Nelson is absent. Also, Member Larry Daly is absent, as well as Member Randy Stout. Member Lori Simpson.
Here.
And Member Dennis Catt.
Here.
Thank you very much. Okay, for a little housekeeping, we have minutes in front of the board from the August 4th meeting. Do you have any discussion regarding those minutes? And if not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Announcements. I don't have any. Do you have any announcements, Tom? Anything in particular? Okay, this evening's agenda. There was a request by the Bel Air Port Richey to change the zoning category R3 to a PUD. This has been before us before, and the reason we are meeting today is because it is expiring as of when?
It expired in June, 180 days
Perfect.
from the city council approval last November and December.
Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant present or representative for the applicant?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I will indeed open this up for comments from the public, because there may seem to be some issues. If there's anybody care to speak from the public regarding this? Yes, sir. Feel free to step up and state your name clearly into the microphone and where you live.
My name is James Beard, B-E-A-R-D. I live in Clearwater. I own my wife and I own 6 lots on Queener Avenue, which is what I'm here to speak about.
Perfect. Okay.
I'd like to first start off with, they had put a new waste transfer pump or waste pump at the end of Queener. In doing so, I spoke with Pat, which was on the job. I didn't realize his name at the time. But I walked up to him. He was there working. He asked who I was. When I told him I was the owner of the property, that they had their equipment, trailers, trucks, and everything sprawled out all over, he backed off a little bit. I asked him before I left to please make sure that they took care of the ruts. I assumed everything else would be taken care of. I come back to a pump station that smells much worse than the old one that was there. Ruts they had dug into the ground, they used my dirt to build up their pump station approximately 4 feet. There were huge rocks, 150, 200, 250 pound rocks left there. And they left a choker cable on the ground, which he denied was his when I talked to him later. But I'm a contractor myself, and I know that they didn't put that pump or that waste, bin, whatever they have, 10,000 pound concrete bunker in the ground without using a choker cable. I hit that with my lawnmower, by the way, which did a considerable amount of damage. I, for 6 or 7 months, spent calling on the phone, talking to different people, getting bounced around. Finally, I was told Mr. O'Neill is the person to speak to. He was the head person. I probably called him 20 times with no response. Finally, I got a hold of someone that answered the phone for Mr. O'Neill, and I told her, look, I would need to talk to him. This doesn't need to go any further. You know, I don't wish to have to make a big deal of this. I want my damages. I want the property fixed. You know, when you put ruts in somebody's property, as a contractor myself, I wouldn't think of having the equipment leave without fixing those ruts. All in all, I come back to property now that they've done a little bit to it. It's better now, but it holds water. Where they dug into the ground, they've removed some of the grade. They've left rocks all over the place. and it still has a waste station that stinks. Not as bad as it was, but it still stinks. My concern with this is the amount of waste that's going to go through that waste station is going to render my property worthless. And I think that with the antiquated system that is obviously there, running that much waste through it is a bad idea. It's going to hurt me. I think that's pretty much what I have to say.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from the board for the gentleman? Yes, a response from the city.
I just wanted to advise the board and Mr. Beard, I met with him out on the site. I was thinking that everything was resolved. I'll look at it again this week, tomorrow, and make sure that it is resolved. If you could leave me your phone number, I will make contact. When I talked to you before, that was the first time I had ever talked with you, and I responded and I met you out on the site.
Yeah.
And then the one thing I wanted to assure the board is that the Cody River development that you are considering tonight has its own lift station, and it does not pump through the Queener station. So you can rest assured that no additional flow from this development will go through that lift station.
I was also told by Pat, which represented himself to be the supervisor when they were putting that in, when he realized I owned the property and they had their stuff sprawled out all over my property, I specifically asked him to fix the ruts, and those didn't get fixed either. To me, it's disappointing to spend 60, 70 phone calls and not have somebody give me a response. I mean, that's not professional. Somebody should be giving me a response. 20 of them were to you.
And when I did talk with you, I went out to the site, met with you, Mr. Stewart, but your question with regard to the lift station is the flows from this development do not go through that Queener station. I'll be happy to look at this again tomorrow. I was assured that it was fixed, so.
Thank you.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. I would like to see more homes built in the city of Port Richey to increase the city tax revenue. But we can't provide enough water for the residents that live here now. So how are we going to supply any new homes with water? I came to this meeting to tell you that I am concerned with that covering more dirt with concrete slabs at the Bel Air Port Richey property on Washington Street will cause more severe flooding in the Candlelight subdivision. I have lived there more than 30 years. We never had flooding until acres of dirt on that property were covered with blacktop and concrete. During the first heavy rain after that, the neighborhood kids borrowed my boat to row up and down Candlelight Court. Last month, after heavy rain, the city street department drove halfway down Candlelight Court and placed a cone on each side of the street because it was not safe to proceed further. Partially due to the acres of blacktop that will not allow the soil beneath it to absorb water, the 17-acre wetland behind Bel Air property cannot hold the water produced by a heavy rain now. If the homes are built and the city spends a couple $100,000 on stormwater runoff to drain the wetland, that should reduce our chance of being flooded worse in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would suggest to you that the applicant's engineer make a brief presentation to you. You have seen all of this before with regard to Mr. Brown's question. This is an engineered master drainage plan for the site. It does have a swift mud permit, and the post-development discharge from the site will not exceed what is discharged from the site now. So it will be fully permitted by Swift Mud, and Mr. Bradley is here as the developer's representative.
That's fantastic. That was actually what I was going to do next. You have the floor, sir.
Josh Bradley, Native Engineering. I'm at 15903 Leatherleaf Lane in Land O'Lakes. And that is correct. We're keeping the the exact same drainage system that was permitted through Swift Mud for the previous townhome site. Generally what happens though, when the infrastructure and roads get built, the fill gets brought in, but the buildings weren't constructed. The buildings are supposed to direct their roof runoff into the system. Well, right now, a lot of that water is going off into another place. Before Bel Air owned the project, as you know, this project was started and I guess money ran out and the developers left. Bel Air bought this property and we've been engineers since then. We have to go back through Swift Mud regardless, and we have to meet, we have to show that we do not cause any adverse flooding or staging of water at all off-site. We have to, whatever flow comes off of our site, we have to match that. So I know the weirs that were constructed that control the flow of water in that pond back into the wetlands are cracked. So that was one of the items that we have from Swift Mud, is getting them fixed, which we've just been waiting for it to dry out to fix them. I don't think that's really caused any flooding, other than Phil was brought to that site years ago and the full site wasn't finished, so the water doesn't go all into the pond where it's supposed to be, and then controlled the flow back out. So I'm not familiar with any of the flooding before or after. I know this is actually a very common theme all throughout the state, where it didn't flood 20 years ago and now it does. And that's a problem that Swift Mud is trying to take on as a whole with their regulations, because what we can do is we meet Swift Mud's regulations. And we have to prove that, and it's tough to do. And we have to, we have to get a permit not only through them, but through the governing agencies as well. So we will meet those requirements. We're going to, like I said, resubmit with these new improvements. It's going to be less impervious area, so that's a good thing. Even with the less impervious area, we're not changing the size of the pond, so if anything, it should function and hold back more water than what was previously proposed. So happy to answer any other specific questions on it.
What's the unit number changing to?
What's this? It was 190 something to 70. I want to say 78.
78. It was 194.
Yeah, it was townhomes. Now they're single family. It's the exact same thing as Tom pointed out that we had permitted before.
Sure.
We were confused on the expiration date. It's our fault. We let it expire, so we're back in really with at 78. 78.
92.
So yeah, we're just trying to do again. We're going from 190 units down to 78 units, single family, less intense. So either way, I'll answer any questions that you guys have, or ladies have.
Lori?
So these apartments are larger than the last?
Oh, these are single family homes.
Okay. Oh, single-family homes, I got you.
Sorry?
I have a
Absolutely.
question for the engineer. So basically what you're saying now is that because those buildings are not there, your runoff retention isn't working the way it's planned to work.
Well, what I'm saying is, and I don't know that for sure, what I'm saying is typically when this happens, when you go and build infrastructure, roads and drainage systems, the single family or multifamily homes are designed to flow into the drainage system, into the road. If they're not built, then the rainwater is just falling on a dirt pad. All this fill was brought in, and it can go, however the pad was graded, it can go back towards the wetlands. Much of, I would say a good portion of it does not make it to the roads. I don't know how much. I don't know if that's causing the problem. All I know is if the project was finished back in and I didn't do the design, so that's why I don't know.
Okay.
But if the project was finished, that roof runoff and all the rain that falls on those buildings, which covered quite a bit of that previous design, would have to be routed through the drainage system, and it is not right now. I would say maybe half of it is, so.
But once the buildings are built, then the runoff and the retention will work the way it's designed to work.
That's
which
correct.
means it won't go out of the wetlands.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's still gonna go into the wetlands, but it's
Right.
going into the wetlands at the same rate it did before there was any construction.
Okay.
This is Tammy Burana, our planner, and she has a brief presentation for the record.
So we'll turn off this light in a second. Well, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Tammy Burana with Burana Consulting out of Safety Harbor, Florida. And as Tom indicated, I'm working with the city as the land planner to evaluate the planned unit development rezoning. And so the presentation I have has just been updated from the one that we did last year. So I won't spend as much time on it, but we're gonna flash through it. And if you have any questions, you can certainly go back to them. So we'll take the lights off right now. And you guys can hear me okay with this? I don't know if this is high enough. Okay, let's see if I can see now. I'll do this. And we'll hope for the best. So the request for this rezoning is from the R3 district to the planned unit development district, and it would be for a maximum of 78 units, and they would be single-family detached units. The site characteristics, they're 32.54 acres, of which 15.35 acres are uplands and 17.19 acres are wetlands. This is an aerial map showing the location along Washington Street. The surrounding properties were evaluated to see if they were compatible from a land use perspective. And this shows the existing land uses surrounding the site, which include a lot of single-family residential, some commercial, and then the wetlands. The proposed housing product, this is provided by the housing builder that's working with the applicant. And so this is just one single-family unit. Here's another one. Here's another one. And the last one. The proposed zoning standards, this is to show you the surrounding zoning districts, so you have some, I can barely see now, R1, I think R2 to the west, the commercial to the north, and then the agricultural, which is the wetlands, to the east. I'm gonna need to pull this up on my computer because I'm vision impaired, obviously, I can't see that far. Pardon me, just let me pull this up. So what's shown on the right-hand side is the current standards under the R3 zoning district, and on the left are the proposed standards. Let me get to that page. Okay, it's loading, obviously. So it's a 4,000 square foot lot, 40 foot wide and 100 feet deep. And then the setbacks are shown at the bottom. So you have a primary front yard setback of 20 feet, a secondary front yard that would be on a corner of 10 feet, the side yard would be 5 feet, the rear yard would be 20. And in instances when a lot abuts a public right-of-way, such as Washington Street, or what is the street to the Broadway, is it Broadway, to the south? That would be a 35-foot setback per your code. We looked at public facility for the level of service impacts, and the level of service standards are established in your comprehensive plan for certain facilities. We looked at traffic circulation based on the number of units, of course, with lesser units from the previous development, there was available capacity. There will be internal sidewalks to allow for pedestrian circulation and external sidewalks to allow for connectivity outside the development. And then there would be a primary ingress-egress along Washington Street, and then a secondary exit-only access along Broadway Avenue. And then there would be stacking lanes at the front gate for up to 3 vehicles. Stormwater, as Tom mentioned, would need to meet current SWIFT-MUD rules, and that would have to be accommodate post-construction runoff that does not exceed what is which is there today. Utilities and solid waste disposal, there was adequate capacity in all 4 of those service areas. Recreation and open space, there is a provision of your code that calls for a minimum of 1 contiguous acres of developable uplands for certain developments of certain sizes. I think it's between 75 and 100 units, which this development falls under. But there's also a provision in the conditions of approval that were passed during the last time that provide for the applicant to make a contribution to the city, and that contribution amount, or whatever the terms of that agreement, would need to go to city council to be approved at the time of the site plan approval. Relative to neighborhood aesthetics, there would be aesthetic treatments along Washington Street, and that would help the development to fit in visually and functionally with the surrounding neighborhood. And there, at minimum, it would have fencing and landscaping. That would be decorative fencing and nice landscaping. And those details would also need to be approved by city council at the time of site plan approval. We looked at each comprehensive plan policy that was relevant to this, relative to future land use. We looked at the property to see if it was compatible with the surrounding land uses. And these are the future land use categories that surround the property. Again, residential, commercial, and then the wetlands are actually recreation open space. At some point, the next time the city amends the comprehensive plan future land use map, those recreation open space categories would need to be amended to show conservation wetlands. And that's also in the conditions of approval. Relative to housing units, this would help the city to ensure a sufficient supply and variety of safe, sound, and affordable housing. Conservation and coastal management element, there is a wetland buffer that, that lines the edges of the wetlands, and so that's consistent with that element of the comprehensive plan. And also, we did review this, development, this proposal, relative to section 2.44 of the Land Development Code. I'm sure you're probably aware there's 19 criteria within that, and staff found that this development was consistent with each one of those criterion. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer them, or if you want to take them back to the applicant, then I'm sure they'd be happy to come up and help you out.
Lori, questions?
I like that a lot better, because the last one, it seemed like they were just a little bit bigger than jail cells.
Dennis?
No, I think we pretty well vetted this the last time.
Sure.
The fact that the aesthetics and the fencing and the park has to get council approval when it's submitted, is fine.
Perfect.
And-
I have no question. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the benefit of the board and the members of the audience, this will be scheduled for first reading in a public hearing at the city council meeting on November 10. Second public hearing would be 2 weeks from that date on November 24.
Okay. Not that it has any bearing, but do we have a proposed timeline when they're looking to start construction? Well, I say that, but it actually does have bearing, because you don't want to miss another one.
No, no, we've made that mistake once, we won't make it again. Josh Bradley again. Yeah, as soon as we get the plans in and get approved, I guess it could be as early as March, April. That'll get us started before the rainy season starts. So yeah, it's looking to get rolling around springtime. So.
Okay.
Are you still only using one builder?
For the homes?
Yes.
At this time, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard any different from Carl. I'm just the engineer doing the site, but from the landowner, our client, he has not told me any different. So.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Dennis?
No, I'm good.
Lori?
No.
I'll entertain any motions.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Tom, I trust that you'll take care of the other issues that were presented this evening by the public.
Yes, I will inspect that myself and make contact to
Fantastic.
make sure they're resolved.
Very good. Do I have any other motions?
A motion to adjourn?
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.